Guys, it's Vandy as old back at another card fight Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and down to the Patreon. Let's get one started. Today we have Dark Irregulars, Reijy. Reijy is interesting. I like how they broke away from something. Like every Clan and V series kind of had something that broke away from their original style, and like some things that kept the same. Takikaze was kind of like the 50-50 on that mark, but like Reijy broke right past it. Like all of Dark Irregulars ever since the beginning has always been about soul charging. Yeah, they'll soul charge different amounts. Yeah, they'll have different effects based off of soul charging, but regardless, it was focused on soul charging. Reijy somewhat takes it a step further, quote unquote, and binds them. So it gives like a unique taste to Dark Irregulars, and I love it so much. One of his support cards I questioned deeply because it was weird the way its effect is worded, but it's good. I love Reijy, and I can't wait for them to support in the future. So let's go ahead and get this one started. First up, we have our starter, Werfleder Ordonnaz, as most people call it, but in terms of my friend, who I somewhat resent for every time he plays Dark Irregulars, Man-Bat. Auto, when rolled upon, draw a card, then if your opponent's Vanguard's a graveyard and a grade, you get a quick shield ticket to your hand. So standard draw ability, nothing too special about it, but you also get the quick shield, which is a 5k shield, or sometimes discard fodder. In this deck, I always figure if we actually have discard fodder in the decks or not. I'm pretty sure this deck doesn't have discard fodder, so it's a way just to, discard stuff, and all around, it's just a decent starter, and it's here because it's my favorite in terms of artwork. So, Werfleder Ordonnaz, or Man-Bat, choose what you want to call it. But if you call it Man-Bat, you are dead to me. Trigger lineup, we have 4 Draw PG and March Rabbit of Nightmareland, 5k base, grade 0, boost, 0 shield, continuous sentinel. You may have up to 4 sentinels in deck. Auto guard, when placed on guard circle, discard a card from hand, and one of your units cannot be hit down to battle. So just a standard PG, nothing too special about it. Yeah, you could go for extra crits, and yeah, maybe, I don't remember how many times I've checked draw triggers. I don't think I've ever checked draw triggers in this deck, but if you want, you could go for the crit sentinel plus, just so you can increase your chances of not decking yourself out. I choose the draw PG because there are going to be days where the crit sentinel ain't going to be enough, and I don't want to run into those days, and the draw PG is somewhat better. If you really want to go with the crit sentinel, it's fine by me. I don't really care, but in my personal opinion, I prefer the draw PG, but go do you, because I can see this deck working with both. So we got 4 draw PG, 4 crit in Werfleder, and 4 crit in Blitzritter. So we run 8 crit, 4 draw PG, or you could go 12 crit, no draw PG. And as our heal, we run Alice of Nightmareland. She's been very kind to me recently, where for some reason I'm starting to damage check her more and more, especially when I'm at 6. I should start making more bets, because I'm pretty sure I didn't say it in the video, but when I did my Big Belly deck profile all the way back in January, I only built Big Bellies in real life because I literally said with the Great Nature deck that I had that was pure budget and really bad, in my personal opinion, sorry Great Nature deck, I literally said if I win this game, I will buy Big Belly. And I didn't think I would because it's really bad. And I miracle healed when I was going to die, and I was like, oh shit, this deck really wants me to do it, doesn't it? And the next turn I pulled 2 triggers, so I was more or less forced to big belly, and I wasn't upset about it. I wanted to build Big Belly, and I was probably going to do it anyways. I just wanted to see if the deck would win or not, and it did. And for some reason, ever since then, I've been starting to get more and more heal luck with a lot of certain heals, and this is one of them. So also Nightmareland. That's a story that has nothing to do with Dark Irregulars, just in general with heals. But yeah, also Nightmareland. She's been very kind to me lately, so I'm gonna run her. So 4 copies. Grade 1s, we have 4 copies of Doreen the Thruster. 6k base, 10k shield, grade 1 with boost. Auto Vanarreer, when a card is put into your soul due to the ability of your card, it gets plus 5 till end of turn. It gets plus 10 if you soul charge 2. And it's an ability that stacks. You may be wondering, why is this here when you don't want to over soul charge? Because the second you hit more than 10 cards in soul, you can't use Reijy's effect to bind? Well, here's why. While you're doing your constant soul charging, because you can soul blast with Reijy at any point, you could soul charge, soul blast, and you can keep repeating that, and while you're doing that, this motherfucker gets power, and oh, she hits big very quickly. I don't remember if it was the recorded game or if it was an off-camera game, but she hit 36 on first grade 3 turn really quickly, so yeah, she can swing for numbers. I mean, granted, in the game, it didn't really matter because they took the attack anyways because they're at low damage, but hey, Doreen, who, if you play her right, she will come back to bite people in the ass. I suggest playing her just in case, that extra power for those early times where you soul charge. So 4 copies. 4 copies of Dimension Creeper, 8k base, 10k shield, grade 1 with boost. Continuous rear, if your soul is a grade 3, it gets plus 5. And Active Soul, counterbalance 1 and put it to bottom, you may soul charge 3. Okay, Reijy requires you to Soul Blast 1 and then bind a card, so you always need 2 cards in Soul. This basically turns him into 2 cards because, yeah, you send him to bottom, so you're losing a Soul, but then you're Soul charging 3, so one of those cancels out, and then you got the 2 Soul, so he's like a free Reijy, basically, and I like Dimension Creeper for that, and even then, he's like a good card to consider, or at least run at like a 2 of in every Dark Irregulars deck because it's a Soul Charge 3. So either way, Dimension Creeper is a nice grade 1, but he also helps this deck in a slight way. This deck is combo oriented, by the way. If you fuck up in the combos, you're probably going to fuck up the entire play. So I do suggest you to play it smart, but there are fail-safes in here just in case. So 4 copies of Creeper because he's really good. Next up, we have 4 copies of our last grade 1 and our new grade 1, Bestial Squeezer, 8k base, 10k shield, grade 1 with boost. Auto when it's placed on rear, put a normal unit from drop zone to the bottom of the deck, and you may soul charge 1. So, you know, a way to reshuffle your, not reshuffle, but a way to send stuff back to bottom, so, you know, you decrease the chance of decking out, then you soul charge 1. So basically, you're just kind of keeping your deck amount the same, and act drop, bind it, choose one of your rear guards, and shove it to soul. So if only it binded itself face down, because I would have hit Reijy's 15 bind so much fucking easier. Like, I would have won so many games by now, because Reijy is somewhat on a losing streak with me, but I would have won so many of those games, because every time I'm always 2 cards off, and every time I use Bestial Squeezer twice. If she was face down, I would have kicked so much ass with Reijy, but, I guess she's fine. Like, she is still fine, though. Like, she sends stuff to soul, and she can send stuff to bottom and still get a soul charge out of it. All around, Bestial Squeezer is still a good grade 1. Why it had to be bind this unit, because that means it goes up, is beyond me. If it does go face down, someone tell me, because if so, I have a lot of games to start redoing, because I should have won all those games in fairness. But Bestial Squeezer is still a nice grade 1, 4 of, no problems. Next up, we have our grade 2s. We have our first failsafe, because there are 2 of them. 2 copies of Imprisoned Fallen Angel Saraqael, 12k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with Intercept. You may remember this card as the thing from the OG where it had Restrict and it had an 11k base, but like you had to pay Soul Blast 3 to attack with it. Continuous Vander Rear. When it would attack, it cannot attack unless you Soul Blast 1. Okay, you may be wondering why this is here. It's a 12k base. So as a grade 2, you know, it can swing really early and still do a good rush, especially if you're grade locked. But here's the main reason. If you are on Reijy, and you, let's say for example, you fuck up the combo and you don't realize it, and oh, you accidentally have 11 cards in Soul now and you can't use Reijy's skill to bind stuff, well, here's where this thing comes in. You swing, it still has a decent number, it's not the best number, but it's still a decent number, you Soul Blast, and then boom, you're down a count, and now it's easier to get Reijy's skill off. I know it's an unconventional means to fix the problem, but it fixes the problem, and it's really good at fixing that problem. Like, I've only fucked it up once in my entire time of playing Reijy, and that's because I wasn't able to ride Reijy that game, because all of them chose to be damage checked. Thanks a lot, Reijy. But, Saraqael definitely fixed it during the times that I thought I was going to have to use her, so all around, she's a nice grade 2 to have as a failsafe. If you want to replace her with something else that soul charges, go ahead. But if you want that failsafe, or like if you're new to Dark Irregulars or you're new to Reijy because it's somewhat complicated in terms of combo, especially this deck, go for the 2 of because she does actually help out. So 2 copies. She also has a good art. Speaking of cards with good art, we have 4 copies of Demonted Executioner. 5k base, grade 2 with Intercept. Auto Van, when it attacks a grade 2 or greater, it gets plus 5k per battle. I will never use this. I have never used this. Mainly, well, I have used it once or twice. That's because every time I play Dark Irregulars, for some reason I always go first, except for 2 games where I actually went second. So that ability almost never goes off. And even then, it's an only 5k, and most people I see take the Vanguard, so at grade 2, so I don't really think that matters, but okay, sure, more pressure, especially if you're playing a Force deck, I guess, so it can actually hit. And Auto Van or Rear, when placed, counterblast 1, Soul Charge 3, and if you Soul Charge 1 or more triggers, draw a card. Okay, it's here for the Soul Charge 3. Most of the time you Soul Charge a trigger from it. I've always Soul Charged a trigger from it, so that draw is always there. Sometimes the draw is helpful, sometimes the draw is just something that gets you deck out closer, which is something that keeps happening to me from Demonted, but hey, he still gets you the soul, and he's just like Dimension Creeper, where even if you don't want to run him in this deck, it's always a good card to at least consider running in every other Dark Irregulars deck, because it's a Soul Charge 3. Either way, he's a nice grade 2, and I love him, and he works in this deck so well, 4 of. 4 of Emblem Master. The first effect will never go off, but it will probably go... It might go off at some point if you're great, if you don't ride Reijy. 9k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with Intercept. Continues rear guard circle. If you have 7 more cards in soul, it gets plus 5k power and 5k shield. If you are on Reijy, this will never go off. But if you are on the backup grade 3, which is the other failsafe, it will go off most likely. And Auto Vandereer, when placed, counterblast one, search your deck and drop for up to total of 3 cards of the same card name as one of your units and put them to soul. If you search your deck, shuffle your deck. Okay, I know I did this in the recorded game, where I purposefully soul blasted a bunch of crits and then of a certain type, and then I kept one in hand so I could call it in the late game, use Emblem, shove them to soul, and then I'm not really losing anything out of it because I just soul charged 3 from drop and I'm not decking myself out. That is the sole reason why Emblem Master is here, because he can take shit from drop and shove it to soul and you still get the soul blast out of it. This guy requires certain soul blasting to occur for it to go off, but the boy, if you pull it off, he goes to work. 4 of, nice grade 2. And we have our last grade 2 and our new grade 2 who, I don't, he's been helpful, but if he didn't cost a counterblast, if it was something else, maybe just a Soul Blast, I'd be fine with it. Soul Blast would actually be better, because then I would have reasons not to run her. But, yeah, I wish it was a Soul Blast, honestly. Wow, I can't believe it. I'm saying Soul Blast in Dark Regulars deck. So shocking. Why? Anyways, Blaze Foresight, a grade 2 with Intercept, 5k shield, 9k base. Auto when it's placed on Vandereer, counterblast 1, choose up to 2 trigger units from your hand, shove them to soul, and draw a card for each card put. So you don't have to put triggers, you can just counterblast to counterblast, but I do suggest paying the counterblast just to send 2 triggers to hand and draw 2, because it's just a way to, get more soul and use Reijy's effect because it's 2 cards. Either way, he's a decent grade 2, not my favorite, but he is a way to get a quick 2 soul charge, so 4 copies, without losing deck cards to some extent. Well, I mean, he does lose deck cards, but still. Next up, we have our grade 3s. Here's our backup grade 3 / final failsafe, especially if you can't ride Bladewing. King of Masks, Dantarian, 12k base, grade 3 Twin Jet Protect Gift. I'm very disappointed that no one likes Dantarian. Yes, at the time of recording this, I have seen the results of, I think, of a Japanese tournament where Dantarian was in the top 5. But back in the day, King of Masks Dantarian, when he first came out, no one used him, and the man is a VR. I didn't even know he was a VR. I thought he was a triple rare, but no one used him as a main grade 3. I used him because he's a budget grade 3, and I liked using him, don't get me wrong, but straight up, if I had the chance to buy No Life King, I probably would have done that instead of Brufus, but no one used Dantarian. I feel so bad that he got overshadowed, but he does so much as both a support grade 3 and a main grade 3. Anyways, his skill, Continuous Vanguard. When you call a Guardian, you may call a grade 2 or greater card from your soul. You can call any number of cards to guard circle. So that's really nice. So, for calling Guardians, you can call from soul, adding a bit of guarding power from soul, which is also the failsafe ability, because that means, yeah, you have to have grade 2 or graders in soul for the failsafe to go off, and the grade 3s don't have shield in this deck, unless we put Number of Terror in, but I don't like Number of Terror because he wouldn't do anything in this deck. You could, call your grade 2s from soul, which reduces your soul count, which is bad for some cards, and then they're this one, but if you're on Dantarian, you probably don't have to worry about it, but it's also good for Reijy, so when you eventually ride into him, you have reduced the amount of soul cards you need, so you can use Reijy's skill. And then his other ability is Auto Van. When your opponent's rear guard's retired during your turn, you soul charge 2. Okay, you're mainly going to do it by attack. In real life, if you really want to, you can... If you want to maximize this, replace this with Gwen the Ripper, but otherwise, I just say you're going to get that via attacking and nothing else, but that ability is the least useful in this deck to some extent. And then Auto Van, when your grade 2 or greater is put into your soul by a card ability, 2 of your rear guards get +5 to end of turn. So these are just a way to pump up the board with +5s, which is why he was really good, and no one used him. But yeah, the soul charge is helpful in terms of if you're not going to ride into Reijy because maybe all of them are out of deck, or you're not trying to ride into Reijy that game for some reason, then yeah, by all means, go ahead and just soul charge galore with it, go kill the rear guards, get more power to your board. Doreen the Thruster abuses the shit out of this, but yeah, all around, King of Masks Dantarian's a good grade 3 to sit on, and a good grade 3 to kind of support with, because yeah, all of his abilities are Vanguard abilities, but if you can't ride Reijy, well, you can at least still soul charge a lot, get a power from Doreen and your other cards that have soul cost abilities, and then use his ability to guard from soul when you're going to ride into Reijy next turn, and then reduce the soul amount just enough to ride into Reijy. All around, Dantarian's a nice grade 3 to have, 3 of. And then we have our last grade 3, the man, the legend, the boy himself, the king of the darkness, the pillow stacking supreme, Bladewing Reijy. 12k base, grade 3, 200 drive, protect gift, act Van if your soul has 10 or less cards, soul boss 1, choose a card from your soul and bind it face down. So yes, you have to have at least 2 soul to use that ability, 1 for the cost and then 1 for the bind face down, and then you have to have 10 or less cards, which is why this thing is here as a failsafe, and which is why this thing is here as a failsafe, just in case you get a bit too trigger happy with your soul charging and you forget that, hey, Reijy can't really work with that. And then continuous Van, it gets all the effects below depending on the number of face-down cards in your bind zone. 5 or more, gets +5, active on both players' turns. 7 or more, it gets +10 in a drive during your turn only. 10 or more, during your turn only, it gets +10 in a crit. And Auto Van, when it attacks, if your bind zone has 15 or more cards face down, choose one of your opponent's vanguards and deal them 2 damage. So let's unpack that all at once. First off, the first skill, the continuous Vanguard, that +5, really helpful, 17k base during both players' turns, makes guarding a lot easier. I know me personally, that actually has helped me a lot with that 5k, so I really like Reijy for that. And it even works on force decks too, because while yes, it doesn't make you even, it makes you 5k less that you have to guard with, so Reijy's good in that department. And 5 or more is really easy to hit. Like, every time I use Reijy, I hit 5 or more on the first grade 3 turn. There's never been a time where I haven't done that. And that normally cost up like most of my soul, but I still have some soul left. And then 7 or more I've done once on first grade 3 turn. You get +10 in a drive, so you're at 27k base during your turn with triple drive, which is fine. And then 10 or more during your turn you get another 10 and another 2 crit. So you have triple critical. And you have 37k power. So that's really big, because 37 power with triple drive and triple critical, your opponent is kind of in the situation where they have to PG it or they have to guard a lot. It's kind of like Daihausen, where it hits really big, except this hits bigger than Daihausen. So 1 less drive, but more crit and more power. Yeah, this boy's scary, because if you don't have a PG, you gotta guard this guy constantly because of that. 10 or more is the thing I constantly hit too. Like, I've hit all those abilities except for the last one, and the last one I'm always off by 1 or 2. I'm always at 13 or 14. There's never been a case where I've been lower than 13 or 14 when I actually am on Reijy. And Auto Van, when it attacks, if you have binds on us 15 or more, you do the 2 damage. If you can pull that off, your opponent's losing, because like 2 damage, yeah, they could damage check triggers and heal out of it, but like, it's a swing, you pay no cost for it, you have big numbers, they are forced to take 2 damage. And yeah, it would maybe make their guarding easier, but if they don't, then like, this alone, if they're at 0 damage, they're probably not. This is 5 damage in 1 hit. So, yeah. Reijy, nice grade 3. He is combo oriented and you do have to play right, otherwise you could like mess up your entire game plan and then you could get screwed over in the end. But otherwise, I say Reijy's a nice grade 3 and I love him. 4 of. Gift-wise, we have 6 Protect 1, 6 Protect 2. Protect 1 is our Sentinel. When you acquire it, it goes to hand, and Sentinel Guard Circle. When placed, discard a card from hand. One of these cannot be hit down to battle. I personally run Protect 2, Protect 1 in this deck because, like, half of these are on... Actually, no, all of these are on place except for this one, and this one never goes off unless you're on Dantarian, and this one, you're here as a failsafe and nothing else. So, in reality, Protect 1 is inherently better. And if you really want to make sure that your rear guards can hit besides Doreen, who can get power really quickly, go Protect 2. But I say Protect 1 because it adds for the Sentinel, which could also give you a reason to run the crit down over it, over the drop PG anyways. And Protect 2, when a card goes on a rear guard circle, the unit on there gets a permanent +5 and 10k when it intercepts on shield. So it does stack if you have 2 on the same circle, +10 to power, +20 to shield. And if you have 4, it's +40 to shield, +20 to power. Protect 2 really does work out in this deck. In my personal opinion, go Protect 1 though, because a bunch of your abilities are on place and you normally only go Protect 2 on things that you want to stay on board, when in reality, you call over these anyways. If you really want to run Protect 2, go right ahead, but you also sell them sold for Bestial Squeezer, so keep that in mind, but I prefer Protect 1. Then we have a Quick Shield. When one of your attacks, it gives +5k for the battle. Nothing too special about it, just a 5k shield. There's no real discarding here, so yeah, you can actually use this for once, but otherwise, not necessarily the thing I care about the most. But yeah, it's a 5k shield, and it does help in some cases, especially when your Vanguard is 17k base, and that counts as a 22k guard. So, Quick Shield, nice addition, I guess. And that is the deck. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Dark Irregulars is really fun. They were always good on soul charging, and I love soul charging. And then Reijy came in, and a lot of people hated him for it because it was very complicated, or like, it didn't make sense because like because Reijy's only real good support was like the 2 cards that came with him, but Bestial Squeezer was more of like a neutral support of everything, and so was what's his name? The great Blaze Foresight, who for some reason soul charge triggers. This boy really like kind of broke the mold and then kind of became really good. And in my opinion, he's an amazing grade 3. This deck's really fun to play. Like once it gets going, and it's amazing and I love it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon, join the Discord, follow the Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.